Nitro number 140, May 18th. Due to the NBA playoffs, as we discussed, a 1-hour show. And they still struggle to fill that hour.
Oh, my God.
So they open with clips of the main event, or I should say pictures of the main event of Slamboree, because it was still very confusing. But apparently Scott Hall turned on Kevin Nash. This cost his team the main event, which means Sting and the Giant, two guys who don't like each other, are now tag team champions.
I mentioned this before, but back then you would buy the shows on pay-per-view on Sunday or Saturday, and then they would do a replay on Tuesday after Nitro. And so they didn't want to show you anything from the pay-per-view because they hoped that they could compel you to buy the pay-per-view if you hadn't done so. That is one thing that is way better about wrestling today.
Yeah.
Tony Schiavone is trying to explain what in the fuck happened in that Randy Savage-Bret Hart match. I have no idea what happened. He was struggling so hard. All he would do was show a couple of photographs. I was like, I actually missed the opening Raw segment where they recap everything that happened in the big matches at pay-per-views. I still don't know what happened.
Then we had an amazing in-ring segment. I've been watching 30 plus years of pro wrestling now and lived through the 2016 U.S. presidential election. I don't know if I've ever seen blatant ego stroking like what we had here.
This fucking dude has lost his mind.
Eric Bischoff said, you know what? I should cut a promo about Vince McMahon being too scared to fight me. But I should cut this promo on a motorbike. But I should cut this promo on a motorbike in a crown. But I should cut this promo on a motorbike wearing a crown in the ring.
Yeah.
Therefore, you missed something. I should cut this promo on a motorbike in a crown in a ring where the motorcycle was lowered from the ceiling.
As I was about to get to.
With chains.
Yes, because you see, they didn't have a ramp to drive the motorcycle into the ring, or they would have had to obviously take the ropes down. It was too big a deal. So Bischoff said, hey, crew, just so I can cut a promo, put this damn bike on chains, cart it over above the ring, lower it in the ring, so I can sit on it and talk for 2 minutes, and then I'll leave and you lift it back up. He couldn't do this on a bike on the ramp, or in the aisle, or on the stage. Had to be on a bike in the ring.
Not only that, you do realize that they probably could have taken the bottom rope off before the show started, put the goddamn bike in there.
Oh, no.
And then I would bet you that if you had 5 strong men in the ring and 5 strong men on the ground, you could get the bike out of the ring pretty quickly during a commercial break. But they spent the money to lower this fucking motorcycle from the ceiling so this jackass could sit on it in a fucking crown.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, he took off immediately because the show started and he suddenly realized, I'm wearing a fucking crown.
I look ridiculous.
I look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Threw it off and then did just the most bullshit promo. You know when you make a mistake?
Yes.
Okay. I've made a couple. So you got 2 options. You can just move on, or you can just keep fucking going. That was what he did with this Vince McMahon thing.
Yes, he did.
He had legal letters. Did that stop this fucking guy? No, at the pay-per-view, he had a match with an imaginary Vince McMahon. Much like years later, Vince had a match with God. He had a match with an imaginary Vince McMahon where the imaginary invisible Vince McMahon was counted out of the ring. And you could only imagine how awesome that segment was. And then he just kept going on Nitro. He's lost it.
He's a megalomaniac.
So the point of his promo was, in the past 100 weeks, his TV record was 98-2. Because it's all about ratings. Claimed a win over Vince McMahon the night before. Everyone booed, and I honestly don't know if they were booing Eric or Bischoff. Maybe both.
Eric or Bischoff?
Eric or Vince.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
They actually were booing him.
Yeah.
When he said that he defeated Vince McMahon, they booed.
Yeah.
That's how much they hate this company, even though they showed up.
And that was it. He left. Now, the one thing we didn't mention about all this was, this is the first in-ring segment the night after a pay-per-view. Therefore, to a fan, it appears this is the most important thing that happened at the pay-per-view was another guy not being there.
Right.
just self-filleting, just putting himself over to the epic degree.
On a show that was only an hour long.
Oh, yes, thank you. Where time was precious.
That is the biggest thing here.
Yeah.
You had 1 hour this week. You had 48 minutes. And you wasted your time with this epic bullshit.
3 matches, and we had to get this too.
Had a clip from Thunder of Saturn cutting a promo.
This was
His
awesome.
content was great. He called Glacier, first he called him Snowman. Then he called him a fake ninja from a video game who said he owned a basic sidekick that you could learn in any karate class. He said he liked doing the sidekick. He learned it in many years of karate. He's going to keep doing it, and if you thought you could stop him, he dared you to come try and stop him. Content was great. His delivery was terrible.
Bad.
Oh, come on.
It was bad.
What do you want Saturn to sound like?
I don't know.
He's a lunkhead. It was awesome.
Perry, if you're listening, that was Brian Alvarez.
Sure. That was his character. I didn't say Perry Satullo's a lunkhead.
So as they're going to the next match, they're talking about this whole Saturn Glacier chronic kick angle. And Tony Schiavone says that Saturn had attacked Glacier last week with a sidekick that, quote,
Yes.
literally knocked the head off of Glacier.
It's what he
Literally.
said.
You'd think I'd remember that. My memory's not great, but that seems like something that would stick out to me. So we had Saturn versus Psychosis. Had a short, basic opener, but it was fun. Saturn hit about the greatest dragon suplex I ever saw. Then followed with a super kick, a DVD, and the Rings of Saturn for the win. Nice, good, decisive finish. They didn't have 8 million counters and 2 million near falls. Just, they do a match, and then one guy just fucking wins.
Brutal DVD by Saturn, too. Dropped him right on his head.
Again, we had pictures of a match with Slamboree. As my notes here read, very confusing.
You don't say.
All I know is it was Bret Hart versus Randy Savage, and Elizabeth got involved, and Hogan got involved, and a foreign object got involved, and Bret won with a sharpshooter.
Basically, yeah.
So Mean Gene brings Roddy Piper out for a promo. Piper says being a ref is the worst job in the world. He'd never do it again.
He would not referee again for all the tea in China.
That's what he said. Did you know he's old?
Did you know he's nuts?
And nuts.
Dude, this was 19 years ago. He wasn't that old.
Well, we'll get to that.
He was in his early 40s.
I looked it up, so we'll get to it. He calls out Savage, who comes out, and the announcers are talking about Piper. Bret Hart hit Roddy Piper from behind, but Piper thinks Savage hit him. Then one of them asks, hasn't he seen the footage by now? It's
No,
been
they
24
No,
hours.
there's only photographs.
They only have pictures.
No one's,
They don't have any fucking tape.
no one's smartened it up. But
No.
it turns out Piper was smarter than the announcers. Turns out he had watched the film. He says he never apologizes for anything. So he's not apologizing here. But he had watched the film, and he realized as a referee he missed Hogan's interference. He missed Bret hitting him in the head. As commissioner, he is now deeming Savage the winner by DQ.
I just love this pro wrestling thing where a real man doesn't apologize. Like, even if he is admitting that he fucked up, he can't apologize. Admittedly, I messed everything up, but I will not apologize because I don't. And he's a babyface.
Yes. So he declares Savage the winner by DQ. Out comes Bret Hart, the last wrestler to ever care about wins and losses, to say, no, you're not putting a loss on my record right now. It was that important to him. Savage challenges him to a match. Bret says,
I think Piper signed a rematch, but everybody was yelling, so it was not clear.
Savage challenged him to a match. Bret said, I'll fight you both right now. Hogan literally, and I do mean literally, runs in to stop Bret from doing this. He says, instead of doing this fight right now, let's you and me team up against Savage and Piper, and we'll do it June 14th at the Great American Bash. And Piper says, forget the bash, let's do it right now. And Bret's willing to fight, of course, but Hogan pushes him back, and then Hogan turns and pretends like he's ready to fight, but Bischoff holds him back. That was awesome. That was great. So that's it. The pay-per-view main event. 4 men in a tag team match with a combined age in 1998 of 176. He showed from the pay-per-view, Dean Malenko returned.
Can I cut to Gene? For those wondering, by the way, yes, Dean returned. He was dressed as Cyclope. He won the Battle Royal, and he beat Jericho. They go to Gene. He's with Dean backstage. Gene says, you know, Dean, the last time I saw you, I called you a bona fide loser. Doesn't apologize. We do not apologize in this company. But he does congratulate him on his win. And Dean Malenko, who literally walked out of this company because Mean Gene had called him a bona fide loser, he says, "It's all water under the bridge."
Yeah. Dean doesn't care.
It's all water under the bridge.
Did Stephanie McMahon write Dean's promo here?
She must have.
Well, he's a man that shows no emotion, so therefore it probably didn't affect him.
I suppose.
Well, clearly he did. He walked out of the company for 2 months.
And he returned because Jericho insulted his family.
Yeah.
He was sure to mention he never missed an episode of Nitro or Thunder. He saw Jericho run down
What
Rey
a glutton for
Mysterio.
punishment.
He saw Jericho run down Juventud, Guerrero, all the others. But he ran down the Great Malenko, and that was too much for Dean to take.
By the way, they showed Dean here in the Cyclope outfit from Slamboree.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know.
It was after the pay-per-view.
Okay.
I just recapped this. He was Cyclope, and he won the Battle Royal.
I know,
Yeah,
but he
at
was
the
in
pay-per-view.
Yeah.
This was stuff from the pay-per-view.
Yes.
They also showed Jericho throwing a fit
Yes.
from the pay-per-view, not still photos.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Juventud Guerrero versus Damien. There was something awesome in this match, and I may be the only person in the world who noticed. They're doing this opening spot early, just hitting the ropes a couple times, and Juvi comes off the ropes, and Damien leapfrogs him. He leapfrogs him, and he lands, and he's so happy to have jumped over this human that he thrusts both fists in the air and says, "Yeah!" And he forgets that person is still running, and Juvi hits the ropes and comes up and hits him from behind. I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. The announcers didn't mention it. No one in the crowd seemed to care. I thought it was great.
This was better than the Headbangers Kai and Tai leapfrog that we'll get
I
to
don't
in a
even-
minute.
Fucking
I was
bitch.
telling Craig before the show. I watched that show Saturday night and I've forgotten everything. So, let's see. They're having a fun back and forth match, and as I wrote here in the middle of it, they hit all their spots. Foolish me. First of all, Damien kicks out of the Juvi driver. Why? I don't know. So Juvi goes for a 450. He under-rotates. He comes down knees first on Damien's chest. Damien is in agony now. Juvi's not sure what to do. Everyone kind of looks at each other. And then Juvi hits an elbow smash and pins him.
An elbow. Now listen, I remember years ago, I was watching one of my matches back, and I was doing a comeback, and I made a cover after every single move.
Yes.
You don't need to make a cover after every single move. Like, you should make covers because you're trying to win.
Sure.
But in this example, he hit that damn Juvi driver. He should have just gone right up top for the 450. The guy kicking out of the Juvi driver and then just having to keep laying there while he went up to the top, it killed the flow of this match.
I remember trying to teach you this. I tried to tell you this over and over. You make too many covers in your comebacks. Everyone knows the guy's going to kick out. You're killing your own momentum.
How dare you? Vinny never told me this. Now,
you
what
never
I
listened.
never did was when I missed a move so badly that was the finish, do an elbow.
That's true.
This fucking guy couldn't lift him up for another Juvi driver.
To be fair, Damien might have had cracked ribs.
So just pin him.
Exactly.
You can't. It looked,
Exactly.
He came down with all his weight on his knees, which are bony, Craig,
I understand.
on the man's chest. So then we had an.
It was good until then.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Then we had an only in WCW moment. Shivani tries to throw it to Gene Okerlund. And he keeps saying, let's go to Gene. Gene Okerlund in the ring. It's time to go to Gene. And meanwhile, Heenan just says, "Oh, Shivani, you're so off base." Tenay is saying Tony is wrong. Then they cut to a wide shot of the ring. Sure enough, Gene Okerlund is in the middle of the ring, and Glacier is stepping through the ropes. And then Goldberg's music starts. Because no one knew what the hell was going on here. So it turned into Goldberg versus Glacier.
There was a moment on this show where, might have been right after that, but Bobby says something, a little snide, and Tony says, "Shut up, Bobby." And there's a pause, and Bobby goes, "You shut up." And Tanae's like, "Let's call the action." It's like, this ship has hit the iceberg. It's going to take on water now for 3 years or whatever it is. It's a sad state of affairs. Except for this match. This match was not a sad state of
This
affairs.
was amazing.
For about the 83rd week in a row, I believe Goldberg is the best match on Nitro.
Somehow he won like 12 matches in 1 week.
No, this was real still.
about that?
Whatever the number is,
It was 80-something.
house shows and everything. This was real.
Okay.
Now,
I think they broke 100 was when they started going haywire.
yeah, I can't remember when they started bullshitting, but Goldberg is in the ring and some fucking geek in the crowd. And if you're listening right now, I stand by that. You're a fucking geek. Holds up a sign that just says, Goldberg, same 2 moves.
Saw that.
And I'm like, you don't get wrestling.
No.
The fucker guy, he has 2 moves.
And they're awesome.
And he's the most over guy on the roster. Because this ain't about having 1,000 moves. I'm fucking fuming. And then Goldberg starts doing about 10 new moves.
That's the funny thing.
It's like, oh, well.
As Bruce Lee once said, I do
was-
not fear the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times.
Yeah, like Glacier. That side kick.
And he still doesn't get it right.
No. So Goldberg, of course, has his own MMA training, and Glacier's whole gimmick is that he's a karate guy. So every kick or punch or elbow that Glacier throws, Goldberg just blocks or checks or catches every single one of them. And then they had a great idea on paper for this finish. Finally, Glacier hits one kick to the face. It's just like a big boot to the face, and you all need to see this just because you've never seen Goldberg take a bump like this before. He gets kicked in the face. He jumps as high as he can. He throws his arms high in the air. His legs go flying in either direction. It's like a cartoon the way Goldberg flies backwards. Glacier also goes down on the kick. And their plan was Glacier will kip up, but Goldberg will roll backwards through to his feet and fire out with a spear and kill him. That was the idea on paper.
I actually think, based on the way Goldberg started this backward roll, I think they were both supposed to kip up. But I think Goldberg's momentum was weird, and so he rolled backwards instead.
That's possible too.
Yeah.
Regardless, neither guy pulled it off. They both scooted up. And then you know what? Goldberg wiped him out with a spear, and it didn't matter. Everyone went nuts anyway.
You know, I don't like to see anybody hurt. But I was a little bit sad that Goldberg had improved enough that when he saw that the guy didn't make it all the way up with the kip up, he paused and let him get to his feet and then speared him.
Yes.
I was, in my mind, I saw Glacier not make it all the way up and Goldberg fucking run him over anyway. That's what I envisioned.
So Goldberg hit the longest jackhammer of all time, holding him high in the air with one arm, and pinned him. In hindsight, are we really sure that Goldberg's not the best wrestler of all time?
He's
Because it sure seems that way now.
he is a delight.
He's a treat.
He's the MVP on this show for sure.
For months now.
Oh, yeah.
Mean Gene brings Dallas Page out for a promo. Page had won the Bowery death match against Raven. Now he challenges Hulk Hogan, and that's it. So I guess that Goldberg match was the main event in hindsight. So the NWO comes out for a promo. Hogan and his usual cronies. The black and white. I guess I need to clarify that now. Giant is out there with one of the tag belts. His partner is Sting. So the angle is he has invited Sting to join his group, and Sting has to make a decision. So first, Hogan talks about how great he is for a while. And he says, to prove I'm a better leader than Kevin Nash, here is Scott Hall, Nash's ex-best friend. And Hall comes out and doesn't do anything. And Bischoff calls out Sting. Sting walks down the ramp, or down the aisle. Giant goes to meet him halfway up the aisle. Sting spits in his face. The Giant turns and walks away. I don't want to alarm you, but the Giant runs him down and kills him. Just kills him dead. Dead, dead, dead. Ex-Sting now lying here in the ring. And then Nash comes out with a pipe to make the save, and Giant backs off from Nash. Since Sting made his entrance at Starrcade, we are now at like 6 months of non-stop burial. They must have hated him. Just over and over every show.
Yep.
But I will never complain about an hour-long Nitro.
Why would you have Scott Hall gone for months and months?
He was
And
in
then
rehab.
I understand
He was
that.
really gone.
I understand that.
They couldn't bring him back.
But he comes back on his first Nitro and doesn't do anything and doesn't say anything.
Yeah, they were probably
That was their
worried.
WCW.
Because he probably broke out of rehab. They're like, we got to keep an eye on this guy.
Should have brought in Rick Bogner.
No,
You know, in hindsight, I'm stunned they never did that, actually.
I'm not. He was horrible.
Well, I know, but...
God bless the guy.
That just stopped them from hiring a bunch of other dudes.
I'm sure a nice guy.
They hired Hammer.
He was a terrible Razor Ramon.
Yes.